You found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Jackson with Jackson number 10, Human Evolution. I am, of course, the Dapper Dinosaur, and I'm here, as always, on Jackson with Jackson, by definition. Jackson, say hi to everybody.
I'm Jackson.
That's Jackson. Guys, I forgot to set up the drink counter. I'm sorry about that. So, if you want to keep count of drinks, you're just going to have to get, like, some scratch paper or one of those little counter clicker things. You know, like where you press the button, it goes up by 1, and then it has like another button that resets it to 0. Get one of those. Those are cool. I used them a lot for inventory when I worked in retail, way back in the day. Dinosaur retail.
The Jurassic.
Yes, Jurassic had some of the best retail centers. You know, you just buy like Thagomizer ornamentation in bulk. It's great.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Stegosaurus. So, let's see. We are, of course, here to talk about Dr. Charles Jackson, Bad Jackson, as we call him, in this video, which you can already tell looks like it was filmed through, like, a lens that was just covered in urine. Also, you guys are going to be happy to know that it has a frame rate of potato, so that's going to be fun. But this video is a new one. We didn't actually technically quite finish the last one, but it was like 5 more minutes of Q&A for Dr. Jackson, followed by like some preaching, and like I don't care about any of that. So I made the executive decision to just we're not doing that. We're gonna do
Doesn't need
else.
to give more medical advice.
Oh my goodness. Charles Jackson gives some of the cringiest, worst medical advice. Like, yeah, sure. Blast all of your internal biome with broad spectrum antibiotics. That won't cause any problems with resistance or any problems for your GI tract. Not at all.
Oh.
Ugh.
Good, fam.
Goodness. Oh yeah, the non-binary bead says it was filmed in Mexico. You can tell by the color. Yeah.
I said that earlier.
You did.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so in case anyone isn't aware of the trope, in Hollywood, films that are set in places that are considered to be, 1, relatively poor relative to the United States, and 2, especially deserty, tend to get a yellow filter. And that includes things like Afghanistan, Iraq, basically all of the Middle East, North Africa, Mexico, things like that. And yeah, it's a thing I hate. And actually, I was going to color correct this thing, but then my computer was just like, what if I just don't? I'm like, all right, fine, I'm not going to color correct it. You guys were like a hair's breadth away from seeing this in like normal color. Sorry. So for those of you who are new here, we do this as a bit of a drinking game. You are definitely not required to play along, and if you do, please do so responsibly. Know your limits. Know how much you can drink. And when I say drinking game, I don't mean we're taking a shot. I mean I'm taking like a couple tablespoons of this mixed drink that I have here, which is basically just Coke and vodka. So basically alcohol Coke. But we do have some rules. But remember, we also don't accept any responsibility, liability, blame, or anything else like that for you playing along and then causing bodily harm to yourself or others, grievous injury, dismemberment, disfiguration, damage to property. All that's on you if you decide to play along, because you're supposed to drink responsibly. But, Jackson, I think it's time to go over some of the rules.
Yeah.
So, we will take a drink if the Creationist, in this case, Dr. Charles Jackson, or Bad Jackson as we call him, who, by the way, I kind of hate that he's wearing sneakers, because, like, he should be wearing, like, loafers or something with that getup. I mean, come on, he's got a button-up shirt, and sure, he doesn't have a tie on, but he's like that in a dress, not a dress, but a vest and, like, slacks, and then sneakers. You know what? I'll be fair. Maybe he's got foot problems, right? And he just needs comfy shoes, so, okay, Dr. Charles Jackson, maybe that's the case, in which case, hey man, do what you need to. Anyway, now that I'm done criticizing his sense of style, which is not something I normally do, so we take a drink whenever Dr. Charles Jackson gets something so badly wrong or just says something so stupid that we just kind of have to take a drink. We will also take a drink whenever Charles Jackson says something that is actually true and that he's not just quoting from somewhere. We'll also take a drink whenever Dr. Charles Jackson references, say, the National Socialist German Workers' Party or any prominent members or leaders thereof, or discusses any of their various activities, especially in like the early 20th century. We will also take a drink whenever Dr. Charles Jackson tells a story that we're pretty sure didn't happen, which includes things like just relating shower thought arguments that he had with his shampoo bottle, but now he thinks is a real argument that he had with a real person. Take a drink for that. That happens fairly frequently. Also, if one of us makes a prediction about what Dr. Charles Jackson was going to say next, where it's not just blindingly obvious, and we get it correct, we'll take a drink for that. Also, there are a couple of ways in which my viewers can cause us to take a drink. So, the easiest one is if you are in fact a member, like Nathaniel Gray is, and you send a super chat, which includes one of the kaiju emojis, which are only available to channel members, then we will take a drink for that. And speaking of which, we have 2 super chats to read out, one of which has a drink trigger. So first, we have from Valkyrie Vision for $1.99, sick with COVID, going to watch this tomorrow with a heart emoji. Valkyrie, I'm sorry to hear that. I really hope you get better soon. Pet your seeing eye dog for me, because your profile picture is the dog, and that dog looks adorable. So, and Nathaniel Gray says, who are you, the shoe police with a Godzilla for $2, and we're going to take a drink for that Godzilla. Thank you very much. You know what? I actually get asked an oddly large amount of, like, for like a largely odd amount of, like, style advice, even though I dress like a bum. But I still know that, and I know how not to if I chose to. But, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I'm the shoe police. Anyway, we will also, so that's one way you can super chat, is if you're a channel member, you can send any of those emojis in a super chat, we'll take a drink for it. Also, if you're not a channel member and you super chat anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, we'll take a drink for that. That is, of course, because they like to copyright claim basically everything that has even a fraction of a tiny bit of their footage. In fact, I have had them copyright claim footage I used from them of them using someone else's footage via fair use. That's a thing that's happened.
That's not great.
No. It's like, I'm sorry, do you own the original footage that you're using via fair use? No, you don't? Weird. Anyway, it's not available to anyone. Also, occasionally, my phone, which is near my microphone, might make a Godzilla sound or a Mothra sound. Take a drink for that, too. No guarantees on that, though. Alright, Jackson, do you have anything to add before we dive into this?
2 and 2. I added.
Nice. Alright, here we go.
Nobody is completely objective. We're all subjective. The scientific method was meant to be a safeguard on that. It's like the safeguard against falling in love with the wrong person, you know?
So actually, here, I basically agree with Bad Jackson here.
Sure.
It's impossible for a human to just be completely objective about everything. You're going to be bringing in your biases to whatever you do. And it is the case that the scientific method is there so that other people with different biases can take a look at your work and point out places where you got things wrong, perhaps because of your bias. And Mackenzie Brown, who's been a member for 6 months at the tetrapod level, says, "Yay Tuesday," with a Ghidorah emoji, which means we take a drink. Take a drink for the space monster, Ghidorah. Monster Zero, if you... Which, by the way, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero is the one where you get the meme of Godzilla jumping up and down repeatedly in celebration while pumping his arms. It was the point in the Showa era where it really took a hard turn into like kids entertainment. So, but also it's got an American actor who's really trying to be in this Japanese movie, and it's a fun movie. I like it. Go watch it. Not right now. Here we go. I clicked the wrong button, and then
Oh no.
everything went to pot. That's fun. All right, guys, bear with us for just a second while we have some slight technical difficulties. We'll be back in a second. We should be good now. I'm going to hit play again.
It's like the safeguard against falling in love with the wrong person, you know?
I do not see it.
You might make certain rules for yourself, or red flag.
It should be streaming. You might need to click watch stream again.
Oh. I'm looking at your full screen.
Try clicking back in our Discord.
Oh, I see it. I had to go back and click on anything. All right, there we go. Got it.
All right, here we go.
Flags for yourself to try to choose an appropriate mate, or to be the appropriate mate.
I'll be honest, it's a little weird that he's comparing the scientific method to like choosing like a romantic partner, but like it's just a little weird. I don't think I really have to have anything to say about it beyond that.
Sometimes you think that Cheryl is gonna be in love with you, and then you realize that she isn't. She actually loves Bob, and that's kind of like how the scientific method works.
Yeah, I guess in some way. I guess. All right.
But safeguards can still fall through, but the scientific method itself, Francis Bacon designed that to be that safeguard, but we still have biases. It was Milford Walpeth at University of Michigan, University of Wisconsin, I'm forgetting which campus.
It doesn't matter which campus, dude. No one cares. Sorry. It's like, I've never heard anyone quote someone and then try to point out which campus of which university they said it on. Who cares?
It was in room 235,
Right.
which is actually, funny enough, on the first floor. You'd think because it has a 2 it'd be on the second, but it isn't. It's in kind of the back corner, like next to the closet.
All right.
He said that objectivity does not really exist in science. He said even the selection on which data that you observe to record and which data you do not record is a reflection of the bias of the experimenter.
That is often the case, right? When you're designing an experiment, you're going to design it so that the stuff you're recording is what you think is important. But that might not be what's actually important in the experiment. And that's why peer review is important. Actually, in terms of creation science, that actually came up recently with a baromenological study of Australopithecines and members of genus Homo that Todd Wood conducted with help from Paleologos. And they basically just decided not to weight their data at all. So, like, femur length was weighted just as much as, like, jaw shape, which is kind of weird, since we know that, just intraspecific variation within hominids has a lot of femur length change, whereas jaw shape, like, much less so. So, as a result, surprisingly, their paper hasn't made any waves in anthropology because, well, it's kind of useless because everyone realizes that by not weighting any of the data, they're getting false signals. Plus, also, the actual results that they got, I don't actually think are as significant as they think they are. Because they're like, oh, look, there's very little overlap between these two groups. It's like, well, okay, but there still is overlap. There still is some, and the gap between the groups that you're proposing is smaller than the intra-group diversity in either group, which means it would be pretty easy to bridge. So...
it says you've been disconnected. Sit tight while we're patching you back in. It says that me now, but I don't seem to be having any internet problems.
I'm hearing you fine. I think everyone else is hearing you fine.
So, like, I clicked on your screen, on the screen you're sharing, and it says you've been disconnected. Sit tight, we're patching you back in.
I would say try saying and like stop watching and then start it back up.
Okay. All
That sounds like it might be your horrible is it Louisiana internet?
It's entirely possible. Okay. There we go.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
Wait.
Oh, there he is on the veranda.
I don't even have a veranda.
He's on my veranda.
Oh, okay. Well, say hi to him. I hear he likes wine.
After the show, he's kind of messing with me right now.
While we wait for you to try to get the video back up, I'm gonna go.
I got it back up.
Oh, never mind then. I was gonna go over my pet peeve with like some like weird teetotaling Christians pretending that wine in the New Testament isn't wine when it absolutely is, but here we go.
That's why we have to record everything to try to keep ourselves honest. So
It's not working very well there, Dr. Charles Jackson, but okay. My goodness.
So bias is there, and it's real. It is unscientific, but it's a part of being a human, and I think that's part of the mystery. I think,
Sounds like you're a lot more human than the rest of us, Dr. Jackson.
Ooh, burn. I'd say as a non-human, because I'm a dinosaur, obviously.
Fair enough, I guess.
I mean, you can see me right there. I'm on screen.
All I see is Charles Jackson.
Well, you would have to be watching the actual stream.
But you know what? You know what?
I don't. Help me.
Exactly. That's the thing. You don't even know.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Back to the show.
As long as teaching is a human enterprise, computers can never take it over, not even R2-D2. You know.
Burn on R2-D2,
Oh my
I
god.
guess.
Is this the nerd cred again? Is he doing it again?
Yeah, Dr. Charles Jackson likes to like flex his nerd cred, but he does it in like the cringiest ways available. Because like, okay, look, knowing who R2-D2 is, or like Captain Picard is a guy, it's not really flexing your nerd cred. So, I don't get it. And like, look, I'm not saying that Dr. Charles Jackson isn't a fan of things like Star Trek and Star Wars. But it's just weird that he's always trying to flex that, but he's always doing it in, like, the most basic ways. I don't know. It just never seems to actually fit, but whatever.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, as Bitcore says, why would R2-D2 be an example of a computer teacher instead of C-3PO? Yeah, C-3PO is literally like an etiquette and protocol droid. That's more appropriate for teaching. Although, also, I still hate that, for some reason, C-3PO, who, based on his appearance in the original trilogy, he was just one of a mass-produced set of droids because you saw others that were physically identical to him, except maybe in color. But then, no, he was actually a special creation of Anakin Skywalker for his mom, who was like a plantation slave who for some reason needed someone to teach her manners. Like, that whole... And then it never really came up ever again. I just hate that part of The Phantom Menace. It's just so dumb. Sorry. Here's my Star Wars rant.
You know what? So it looks like someone has some actual nerd cred. Take notes, Charles Jackson.
No, look, here's the thing, right? To be a nerd, you don't have to know all the ins and outs, but, like, I don't know, just don't be Charles Jackson, flexing it at inappropriate times for no reason with the most basic stuff.
Star Trek, am I right? High five.
All right.
High five.
And I think as long as science is a human enterprise, it will have these human elements in it. The problem that bothers me is...
Hey, he's right. We'll take a drink for Charles Jackson being right. Eventually, I think he's going to talk about human evolution, I think.
Yeah, we thought that about the bacteria one, didn't we?
Well, to be fair, he did talk about bacteria during that speech.
All of 5 minutes.
Yeah, basically.
The scientific method is being put to the side, and it's becoming a warfare, a popularity contest, and the only time the scientific method seems to matter very much to people is in biotechnology for money. You know.
What? What does... It's a popularity contest? Well, okay, first of all, I don't even know what that means, but second of all, biotechnology in general is based on principles derived from, like, physics and chemistry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how could you not... How would it be... How is it you could have, like, a science where you don't apply the scientific method?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a science.
Where you have to use it for practical reasons.
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you avoid using it on the foundations? Then you can apply the scientific method, like, for the application of it, and suddenly it works. Like, I don't understand how that makes any sense.
It doesn't, but I don't... Look, here's something I've learned about Dr. Charles Jackson, right? Matt Jackson likes to throw around his education PhD and his other various education-related PhDs, which, by the way, is something that teaches you how to get information into other people's skulls. But then he pretends that it, on its own, gives him expertise about areas about which he knows nothing. And then he uses various rhetorical tricks to use that education that he has to try to get that dumb stuff into people's skulls. That's his whole shtick. is just like saying complete nonsense, but saying it in a way that he knows will probably stick with people who are already primed to believe him anyway. Also, what is AS? If anyone can look this up for us, is ASU like a Young Earth Creationist University or something? Because I just am noticing that right now, and that
The
looks
Arizona State University?
I mean, it could be. Sunburst actually would make that make sense, but I don't know what the
Mhm.
Arizona State University like logo is. So I don't know. If anyone can look that up and like tag me in the chat, I would appreciate that. I would like to know where this was. Where does they have such yellow lights?
It's clearly Mexico.
Well, obviously.
Or just tech, new developments in technology with money, then they care about what works or not. I have a
Hey, fun fact, if your tech doesn't work, it probably won't make money. Just tossing it out there. Like, if you were trying to sell, like, the new iPhone, right, but it was literally just a brick of plastic, probably most people wouldn't buy it.
two friends who are PhDs in organic chemistry who work for Eastman Company. And I asked Dr. White and Dr. Falling, do you get in trouble at Eastman for being members of the Appalachian Creation Science Association?
Why would that matter?
Yeah. Well,
Literally, unless they're not doing research, right? They're doing, unless maybe they are, but even if they are, it probably doesn't deal with evolution. So then, who cares? As long as they're doing their job, that's all that matters.
yeah, as a rule, if you're working as a PhD in, like, industry, they want products that work. They don't care what else is going on, as long as it's not so egregious that it's a PR nightmare.
Right.
So, like, if you started doing stuff that's, like, you know, illegal or stuff like that, then yeah, okay, they might care about that. But if you just happen to be a fringe pseudoscientist who also gets his work done, they're not really going to care. They've got a bottom line to look after.
Yeah.
And Alan said to me, well, I've got 40 patents. As long as I keep making patents for Eastman, they don't care about believing man and moon.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. There you go.
They don't care. It's money in a corporation like that matters. But if you're a college professor like me,
Yeah, if you're someone who's, you know, trying to educate the next generation about science in a way that's actually, you know, like, reliable and honest and is using the best of modern information, then suddenly they do care if you're a pseudoscientist whack job.
Whoa, who would have thunk it?
Weird.
Crazy.
ooh, yes, it matters. And I'll tell you right now, being a creationist, every time I've taught earth science and fossils or biology, I have always taught creation and evolution together and presented both viewpoints to my classes. And I've only gotten in trouble.
Yeah, because that's as reasonable as whenever I teach geography, I teach flat Earth and globe Earth together, and I only get in trouble. Yeah, because one of those is completely off the walls, bonkers, stupid, and obviously wrong, and everyone who doesn't already have some prior commitment to being wrong knows it.
I have a statement about, like, what's happening in this video right now.
Go for it.
He's been asked to give a speech, and he's, like, sitting on the side of a stage giving a speech.
Yeah.
What is up with that? Is it just me, or is that, like, really weird?
By the way, this is in fact the Arizona State University. I've just checked the logo.
Okay, but, like, he's sitting on the side of a stage giving a speech to presumably a group of people. What the heck?
So this is probably like the 20-member campus crusade for Christ thing or something.
Maybe.
And I'm pretty sure that he's not been invited by the school. He's rather been invited by the club, who has, you know, reserved this room for today. And that's what's going on here. Like, I don't think this is an official school function. I think this is a club function of a club that is registered with the school. And I think in that kind of situation, I don't think it's entirely inappropriate for him to be a bit more laid back and casual.
I don't know. It's just weird to watch someone give a speech, and, like, if they're not, they're not, like, out on a panel behind a table or something, like, they're not standing at a podium or something, or just walking around. Like, I don't know. It's just weird to me. I guess you're right. It's probably like a really small group, and so it's pretty intimate setting.
Yeah.
So he's just chilling on the stage. So.
All right, here we go.
Teaching at Christian college. Never at a secular school. 15 different
Do they know you're
colleges
doing
and
that
universities.
then?
I hope they don't. Look, here, I don't know how much I can emphasize this, right? There is not a significant difference in the plausibility and reasonableness of young Earth creationism versus flat Earth. You should get in as much trouble for teaching one as the other. There is no good reason to teach young Earth creationism to anyone ever, unless it's in, I guess, like a comparative religion course. So, here we go.
And many high schools and junior highs, public and private, and it's only been compromising Bible-professing Christians.
By compromising, what he means is Christians who take evidence seriously when it comes to science. That's what he means. I'm going to take a drink because that kind of thing annoys me a little bit, and we're going to talk about it. Give me a second. Okay. So here's the thing, right? This is actually something I put into a script recently, although if you're not a member, you're not going to see that video for quite a while. Jackson, you remember Todd Wood, right?
Yes, the gobs and gobs of evidence guy.
Yeah. He's the young Earth creationist who acknowledges that, yes, in fact, evolution is a robust theory. Yes, there's lots of evidence for it. Yes, it is productive in terms of suggesting new avenues of research. Yes, it makes accurate predictions. And he still thinks that he's going to be able to overturn it anyway. Which, hey, you know what? Good luck to you, man. That's the most honest approach to young Earth creationism it's possible to have, in my opinion. But he also wrote a book with another Christian called The Fool and the Heretic. And the joke is supposed to be that which one of the two authors you think is the fool and which one you think is the heretic is going to depend on which one you tend to agree with. But anyway, it is his co-author, whose name I can't remember, unfortunately, is a theistic evolutionist, or sometimes called an evolutionary creationist, although I prefer theistic evolutionist, whatever. So he's someone who believes that there is a God. God is an active part of the universe, but also believes that evolution, as described in the scientific theory of evolution, is in fact true, and it is the explanation as for how life diversified and got to its current point on Earth. And so one of the things that Todd Wood said in the lead up to this publication is sort of like his promotional stuff, was he gave, he did some little interviews and stuff, and I've watched some of them, and unfortunately I don't remember exactly where this was, so feel free to disbelieve me, but it's a point that he said that I'm going to relate that I agree with, right? And it's that whenever he was going to things like conferences with theistic evolutionists or having conversations with them or his co-author and things like that, sometimes he would get exasperated and simply say, look, I'm just trying to take the Bible seriously. But they responded in kind. They said, yeah, me too. I'm also just trying to take the Bible seriously. And the thing is, he grew to realize after spending time with these other Christians who weren't young Earth creationists, that they weren't lying, right? They had a good faith belief and intent to take the Bible seriously, but they were led for reasons that they considered to be compelling to a different conclusion to him, and that's a thing that's allowed to happen. Right? People are allowed to, in good faith, disagree with each other. So it really bugs me when young Earth creationists pretend that they have the monopoly on what is in the Bible or how the Bible should be read or on Christianity. They don't have any of those things. They aren't the arbiters of what's in the Bible. They aren't the arbiters of biblical exegesis, and they're not the arbiters of what is Christianity. It's fine if you're a young Earth creationist to have a sincere belief that you're correct. I would expect you to. Do not pretend that you have a monopoly on sincere Christian belief. And I want to read a super chat from Vandalia in 1998, who for $10 said, this is probably more of an Erica question than a Jackson one, but is Australopithecus a paraphyletic clade or a monophyletic one? And if it's the latter, are we a part of that clade?
It is in fact paraphyletic, and yes, we are.
Yes, I agree. And I'm very confident that Erica would also agree. Thank you for the super chat. All right, here we go. Let's get some more Jackson, unless you have anything for us, Jackson.
Jackson is a go, Jackson.
All right, let's go for Jackson.
Who have had a problem with me. I'm having a problem with the school I'm teaching at now, and Carson Newman College in Jefferson City, Tennessee, a Southern Baptist college, denied me tenure because I didn't believe in Darwin. I was the only professor with science credentials.
You don't have science credentials. You have education credentials. They're not the same thing.
So, okay, I don't know how it works for that particular school.
Yeah, it's weird that a Southern Baptist school...
Typically, when you get tenure, you have to regularly contribute to the literature or whatever field you're in, whether you're a biologist or chemist or psychologist or English major, an English professor, or whatever. Typically, to get tenure, one, you have to be there for a while, years, and two, you have to regularly contribute to the literature for your field. You have to make a name for yourself in the literature. I don't know. Maybe Jackson was there for years. Bad Jackson was there for years. Okay, maybe. Does he regularly contribute to anything other than creation journals?
Well, that's the thing, is I think the only thing is creation journals. But then again, if it's Southern Baptist College, I would expect them to find that acceptable. But it's weird to me that they wouldn't. So I'm not sure that Charles Jackson here is correctly reporting everything.
Yeah,
I'm also not
I don't know.
confident that he's not. So, like, I'm not going to take a drink for things that didn't happen. Let's just say this. I don't think we're getting the full story.
Sure. And the funny thing is, like, there are lots of creationists and intelligent design proponents who have stories like this.
You mean
like,
C design proponentists?
Yeah, C design proponentists, yeah. Like Stephen Meyer claims this. I think Michael Behe has made this claim. And there's a bunch of other ones. There was that stupid movie Expelled by Ben Stein where a bunch of them complained about, oh, woe is me, I didn't get tenure because Darwinism. When actually it was like, I didn't get tenure because I didn't do my job correctly and they didn't ask to renew my job with them, basically.
My favorite one was Mark Armitage, who we've talked about on this channel before because he does amazingly bad paleontology. But he was like, oh, I was fired because of my beliefs and my finding dinosaur soft tissues. And then you look into it, it's like, no, dude, they closed down your entire lab at the end of your contract, and they didn't renew.
Yeah.
They no longer have that whole lab. It doesn't exist anymore. And you were never a professor.
Typically what happens, yeah.
You were in charge. You were the head lab tech at, like, the microscopy lab. And to be fair, I'm sure Mark Armitage is a fine microscopist, right?
Oh,
He's
absolutely
published in microscopy journals, and I have no doubt that when he looks at it under a microscope, he does a good job at it, and he's good at maintaining and caring for microscopes. However, he was never a professor. He wasn't fired for his beliefs or finding dinosaur soft tissues. Like, none of that. And that was basically the whole of Expelled. Was like, when you look into it, it's like, oh, no, it's not. It's not that. And that's even, honestly, I wouldn't really mind if people who believed in obvious nonsense within their field were denied tenure for believing obvious nonsense within their field.
Yeah, a lot of these stories are just like that. It's, we didn't feel the need to renew your contract with us. I mean, that's entirely the decision of the university.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, guys, hit like, because I'm noticing that we have a few people here who haven't hit like half of you.
Do it.
All right, here we go. We're gonna hit play.
Who didn't believe in Darwin? They were intolerant of diversity of thinking.
Oh, look, here's the thing. No one believes in Darwin. That's stupid. Darwin isn't a religious leader.
Existed.
Okay, that's also stupid. But, like, people don't believe in Darwin the way that you believe in Jesus, right? Like, that's not a thing. Darwin wasn't a guru. He wasn't a prophet. He wasn't a saint. He was
because Jesus wasn't real either.
We're not getting into mythicism, Jackson. This is not the time or the place.
Do we have any photographs of Darwin? No, it wasn't real. All his books were forged by the Freemasons. Actually, I'm pretty sure we do have
photographs of Darwin.
Books were forged by the Freemasons. There you go.
Probably. All right, here we go. We're just gonna.
Unfortunately, at a Baptist college, my diversity was Bible. I believed that Genesis was literally true. Now, there were many other professors that did, but none that had that did anything had to do with science like me. So,
oh, weird. They didn't care about people's irrelevant beliefs when they were teaching classes, but they did care about their relevant beliefs when teaching classes. Huh.
How bizarre.
It's almost like if you're a math professor, but you also just happen to believe that aliens regularly abduct people, no one super cares. But if you're an astronomy professor and you think that, aliens are messing with your telescopes, then maybe people will care about that. It's weird how relevant quack beliefs become relevant when you're teaching.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a drink for how absurd it is that Charles Jackson thinks that there should just be no standards in science education.
That's philosophical, and it's about the human condition. I think all philosophies, in their honestnesses, are an attempt, and religions too, to try to overcome our nastier instincts that we're ashamed of.
I don't know about all.
Interesting. That's an interesting
Yeah.
idea.
Like, there are philosophies like libertinism, which is not libertarianism. They're not the same thing. Although some libertarians can be also libertines, and some libertines aren't libertarians. Doesn't matter. That's not really one I would say there. Nietzsche's philosophy, I don't think, is really all about getting rid of your nastier base instincts. I think it's more about freeing yourselves from the shackles of what Nietzsche saw as like artificially imposed moral chains that you don't really need as an enlightened individual. But hey, what do I know? I'm not a philosopher. Go ask a philosopher. Anyway, here we go.
Being a playa, being a liar, being a bad friend, being a cheater or a thief. We where do morals come from? We were talking about, I think science can't really totally touch that. I don't know.
I mean, science actually has done a pretty good job with the topic of this with the supposed topic of this video. We're gonna drag him down. Go ahead.
He was asking, like, science can't tell us, like, where morals come from. I guess it kind of depends. Like, some morals are about, like, especially ones that involve, like, harming others are typically discouraged based on, like, your group, right? You want your group to succeed, so you discourage certain behaviors that are harmful that would allow your group to succeed long term. I mean, in that respect, sure. I mean, all morals probably not. That kind of sounds like a misuse of science or philosophy or both, but at least some of them you can.
Yeah. All right.
Gonna walk off screen bit.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think there's a cameraman, so I'm trying to make it work, but like
It'd be very funny if he just like keeps going and nobody realizes.
Well, like I said, I don't think there's a cameraman, so
Yeah.
I think this is just a camera on a tripod. In fact, I wouldn't even be shocked if it's just a camera on a table.
Yeah,
It's actually pretty low
possible
for a tripod, so.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. And the non-binary beat asked, did he just say playa? Yeah, he definitely said playa.
He is the playa.
It's like that time that on Kent with Bent with Cheshire Vic, we found that Kent had THOT in one of his slides. Word.
Intentionally?
We're not sure. But there it was, thought. I was just like, oh goodness.
You know what they say? Thoughts and prayers, right? Like...
All right, here we go.
I don't know. You could do experiments on someone.
Oh, wait, maybe
Put
we do
paper
have a
bag over
camera
their head,
operator.
the person's head, and see if they'll electrocute them more. That's it.
Maybe that person. Oh, so now I don't think this is just the like Campus Crusade for Christ, because those two do not look like they're members of Campus Crusade for Christ.
Yeah,
but maybe they are. I don't look. There are plenty of non-traditional age students at universities, and it's great.
True.
Want to go get an education, and you're significantly older than the average college kid? Go for it.
At LSU. And even some of the classes here at LSUS, I have students who are non-traditional age. They're they're in the military or something like that, or they're going back to school.
I was older than some of my professors when I got out of the Navy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's perfectly normal. Like there doesn't need to be any sort of stigma around it. Like you're not going to. Do it absolutely if you have the opportunity. Like make more money at your job by getting this degree or whatever, you think it'd make your life happier? Yeah, absolutely, do it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Oh, and yeah, Henry Hansen says night classes. Yeah, I took a few night classes just because those are the classes I wanted. And they fit with my degree. And yeah, a lot of the people, there was a much higher proportion of like older than normal college age students who were there for the night classes because, you know, it's easier to fit into your schedule if you're working a 9 to 5. All right, here we go.
The famous experiment. Okay, well, anyway, this gets on. Now, not being objective. What I want to do is just look at fossils. They asked me to speak on human evolution.
Oh, please.
So now...
I'm excited. I'm so excited for this.
A big part of the way in, we're going to finally get to the topic.
I'm just excited. Are we about to do, like, the entire thing is just cognitum?
It might be. For those of you guys who
That
might
looks
not
like
know,
a monkey to me.
Yeah. Cognitum is younger creationist, like, jargon for... We just kind of eyeballed it, and this is what we just sort of think based on no particular rigorous definitions. Cognitum is the reason that Answers in Genesis says that, like, sheep and goats are in one kind and cows are in another kind.
Yep, even though they are all the same family.
Right, and almost everywhere else across their entire kinds list, it's just family, family, family. It's like they think that the ide ending is like God's sign to Carolus Linnaeus as to where his created kinds were.
Which is funny because they also have, some of them they like kind of scooted up the chain a little bit and they went like for Scandentia, the tree shrews is one kind, which is an order. And then bizarrely, they went all the way down to species for like the Tasmanian wolf.
Yeah, that was...
Like, why? Why
it
just
is
Silacinus? Hey, you know, I don't get it.
Also, I think like all of Pariasauria was a kind, just because no one knows what those are, so they don't care.
Yes, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of diversity in Pariasauria. They don't care.
The kind list at the art park is almost entirely just like someone went to Wikipedia, looked up vertebrate like families, and then just wrote those down because many of them are structured by taxonomic group. So like all the Afrotheres are together. You know, all the Eupatiflins and stuff like that. Because when we were looking at that, when I think Erica was the one who took the picture, we were like, just kind of did modern taxonomy.
Yeah,
it said it's kinds.
It's a very bizarre thing once you actually start looking into like the underlying structure of what they're actually doing, and you look at it in depth. And there are just so many weird choices. I would suggest looking at Erica's, if you haven't seen it, her documentary about her trip to the Art Park and the Creation Museum.
Yes,
because she goes into a fair bit of depth on the signs list, and also she also consulted with me on it, and so I gave her some pointers as to weird things they did with like the Mesozoic archosaurs that just like, why would you do this? This is a silly kind of thing to do. Also, DM Wing, who's been a member for 3 months at the Tetrapod level, super chats membership chats with a Mothra, a Ghidorah, and a Godzilla, and says membership benefits, so we will take a drink for that. Thank you, DM Wing. All right, here we go.
The only actual hard evidence we have is the fossils. Now, and after...
We have paleogenomics, too. That's the thing.
Hold on. The evidence of what?
Human evolution.
The only evidence of human evolution that we have is the fossils?
Yeah, forget paleogenomics.
Genetics be darned?
Yeah, no. Genetics is fake, man. Nathaniel Jensen proved it just recently. I can't even say that with a straight face.
It must be unfortunate for his book Trace, then. Or not Trace, well, yeah, that one. Because, like, both of them are replacing Darwin, because they're both based on genetics, aren't they? So
yeah,
genetics
but the thing is,
proved that
Nathaniel Jensen explicitly excludes all Neanderthal genome data.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, even his math won't work, even though his math already doesn't work. And the thing is, he's just like, oh, it's degraded. It's like, okay, if it's degraded, then how come we have such a great ability to determine things like the actual place in the genome of the genetic material we're looking at, and how come it's so well correlated with other genome samples of other Neanderthals, such that we can actually build a coherent full species genome out of it? Because you couldn't do that if it were too far degraded. Also, why would it be so degraded if these are just post-flood humans?
Right, that's like the opposite of their dinosaur soft tissue argument. They're
Right.
like, look, it's not degraded, therefore it's recent. But now it's, oh look, it's too degraded because it's recent. Like,
Look,
wait, what?
Degradation of fossil remains always happens in the most convenient way for young Earth creationism. just
Apparently.
mysteriously. All right, here we go. We'll take a drink for how silly it was. Apparently we're just going to ignore genetics, but yeah, here we go.
The fact scene of the crime scene evidence would be the DNA evidence. But
Yeah, because bodies aren't used in forensic science. That's not a thing.
It doesn't work. It's fake.
Just say something right, Jackson.
That's just CSI logic you got there. That's only in the movies.
I took another drink for forensics. Apparently doesn't use bodies or anything like that.
that's all going the creation way too. But let's take a look at the
Sorry,
fossils.
what?
Apparently forensic science confirms creationism.
I don't even... How does that work? Does that mean they found evidence that, like, the Earth is 6,000 years old at a crime scene?
Yes.
Did they, like, find the body of Adam? Is that what happened?
Maybe they found
Like-
the body of Abel.
Maybe. They're like, dear God, this is him. Abel takes off sunglasses. The Earth is 6,000 years old.
By the way, everybody, if you want to see my my favorite take on Abel in fiction, check out the SCP version of Abel. There's also an SCP entry for Cain, and they're fun. Check out the SCP wiki for Cain and Abel. Separate entries. Anyway, here we go.
Here, let's take a look at fossils. I'll do a very short presentation because if I went over all the fossils, we'd be here all night. So I want to go.
Weird admission.
Please?
Oh.
Please?
My phone is ringing, and it's the government. Guys, we're going to take an early intermission.
Oh. Okay.
Guys, sorry about that. Normally we take a break about 10 minutes after when we just did. I feel like I owe you a little bit of an explanation. So that was actually the United States Postal Service. We recently had a new mail carrier who decided to question whether or not I lived at the address that I live at by writing on mail addressed to me, "Does he live here?" So I called the United States Postal Service earlier today to say, yes, I do. Please don't stop delivering my mail, because some of it's important. So they just called me back to let me know that, yes, they've made a note on the address here that I do in fact live here, and that I've done so for, over a year. And yes, please make sure you do deliver that mail. Because I don't think I've talked about this, but when I lived in Phoenix, my mail actually stopped being delivered. The carrier just decided that I didn't live there anymore, and so we started sending things back as return to sender, which meant that when I first monetized this channel, it took me 3 separate tries to get the physical card from YouTube that you have to use to verify that you actually live where you say you do. And that's a tax liability thing on their part, right? But yeah, so for a while, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, nothing is arriving. And then finally, my parents said that they sent me a letter and it got returned to sender. And then I had to call the USPS and be like, hey guys, please deliver my mail. That's like your whole job. So yeah, that's what that was. So normally I wouldn't take that, but I need the mail service to not stop. So I thought it was important enough to move up the break. Sorry about that, everybody. There you go. Jackson, are you ready to continue with more Jackson?
I'm ready to Jackson this Jackson.
All right, we'll go for Jackson.
Over the newest fossil, Homo naledi, and the
newest fossil.
The guy who...
Was this filmed like 6 years ago?
It might have been. That's a completely possible, I think.
Okay. Well, I don't even know at this point if there is a consensus on where Homo naledi fits. We basically skipped it in the series because I think it's still kind of up in the air where it fits right now. If I'm not mistaken, I could be.
Well, I think there's
a
number of people who are arguing that it's actually just a variant of Homo erectus.
Oh, good.
But I'm not sure. Like that's something I would say ask. For details, check out Guns That Give Him.
Hold on, let me call her. Let me dial Eric.
Who, by the way, I think
sense,
she might be available for Erica again. With things like weddings and trips to Africa. It's been a little while, so hopefully next month we're going to have an Eric with Erica. So, anyway, here we go.
Came up with that fossil. In 1859, though, Charles Darwin, in his book *The Origin of the Species*, talked about missing links.
Not really. He talked about intermediate forms, so we're going to take a drink for misquoting Darwin. Which is a weird pastime for creationists because literally nothing that Darwin said actually matters at this point.
Yeah.
But they still do it all the time anyway, and then sometimes they'll just make up weird facts, like Kent Hovind makes up that he really liked worms and hated birds, even though he was a pigeon fancier for his whole life. That's a weird thing to do if you hate birds.
What?
Yep. Or
so
Dr. Rob Carter made up the fact that apparently large sections of The Origin of Species were in German, which...
Oh, yeah. Despite the fact that Darwin could barely read German?
Yeah, he hated German. He really hated German.
That's one of the reasons it's hypothesized that he never understood the significance of Mendel's work.
It's also probably why he never read his copy of Das Kapital.
Right, exactly. Because he didn't read German. He didn't speak German very well. So what the heck?
He never learned to pronounce German. He never even tried. And he would hammer away at German texts one sentence at a time with a dictionary by his side, according to his son, Francis.
Also, we have first edition copies of Origin, and none of them have sections in German?
Yep. I actually looked through an online searchable version of all of the editions that Darwin published, looking for German, and the only place I could find it was when he cited German authors. That's it.
Yes. Yeah,
the only place you could find German. And, that makes sense. So yeah, it's a bizarre pastime of just making up biographical details about Charles Darwin that just aren't true for no reason.
Darwin was waging a long-term war on birds. He's like, for the earthworms!
And Hoban thinks that the reason that Charles Darwin shot so many birds was because they ate worms and he loved worms. Not because, he was collecting specimens for his naturalist work.
I love that. I love that Hoban, like, learns from one of his people that, like, the last book Darwin wrote was about earthworms, and he's like, it all makes sense now! That's why he took out the Galapagos pensions. Went to an uninhabited island and was like, I must save the worms.
Which I don't even know if Galapagos has earthworms. It might not. Those aren't animals that get to islands very easily.
It probably doesn't, yeah, but just, that's
Here we
I
go.
love it.
We're gonna hit play.
That's my favorite new conspiracy theory. I'm gonna, like, tell that to everyone.
Alright, here we go.
But he called them intermediate varieties. The number of intermediate varieties which must have formerly existed on the Earth must be truly enormous. Why then is not every geological formation and every stratum, every rock layer full of such intermediate links, missing link fossils?
I wonder if at any point in Chapter 6 of Origin of Species, which is the chapter that quote is taken from, if Darwin, like, maybe provided a reason he thought at the time, like, I don't know, that many basins hadn't been investigated very thoroughly by naturalists, or that, like, most organisms don't get fossilized. So
Yeah, things that are true.
Yeah, crazy.
Let's find out. Maybe Bad Jackson will mention that.
Maybe,
Geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graded organic chain, and this, perhaps, is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory. Darwin knew in 1859 that the missing links were going to be a big problem for him.
No, he knew they were currently a problem.
Yeah.
And then he predicted that they wouldn't be in the future, and he was proven right in his own lifetime with the discovery of such things as Archaeopteryx, an obvious transitional species.
And Dorodon, and Halotherium, and Stegodon.
And then sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, for reference, for anyone who doesn't know, a Dorodon is one of the early cetaceans, or stem cetaceans, that still had hind limbs. Halotherium is an early Sirenian, so an early manatee relative, which also still possessed hind limbs. And Stegodon is a stem proboscidean, which it looked like modern elephants in a lot of ways, but one way it was different was its hyoid was more like that of like mastodon, so of more distantly related elephantids than our modern elephants. So again, like these, you can find, or Darwin was aware of these positional organisms in his own time.
Also, he's one of the earlier people who thought about the, out of Africa origin of that they evolved in Africa, and he predicted that fossil remains of pre-human ancestors of humanity should be found in Africa. And he was right about that, too. So even though it doesn't actually matter whether or not he was right about these things, he was. So, I mean, good job, Charles. Good job, Chucky D. That's my affectionate nickname for Charles Darwin. It's Chucky D. All right, here we go.
And he had every faith that the links between the different phyla and orders
I don't think he was that specific, but okay.
And classes of living things would eventually be found, including going from the great apes to humans. They would eventually find these missing link fossils.
And he was right. And everyone cheered. Now we're done. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, I think like the only species of like hominin that was known at the time was like Neanderthals, but not much of anything was known about them. So they weren't aware if they were just humans or not. They didn't have much in terms of human fossils. Also, I mean, most of our human species were in places that are like not amenable to fossilization, even though we have a surprisingly good record of hominin evolution. I didn't know that at the time. That would be way after Darwin died when they really started uncovering hominin evolution. So anyway.
Now, we do have orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, and humans today. And we
Whoa. The bar is on the floor.
have extinct forms of these same things, including extinct forms of humans.
Well, we have some halibadids. There's like the potential halibadid Wanmu-Pithecus, and in terms of actual halibadids, there's Bunapithecus syricus, Junzi imperialis, and then there's one other one I always draw a blank on it. Junzi is pretty cool, Junzi, because it was actually found in the the menagerie of a Chinese empress. So this is a species that doesn't exist anymore. And now halibadids had a larger range previously, in part because they're all endangered or critically endangered now, and so they used to extend into China. But yeah, there are very few halibadids. There are some maybe gorilla or stem gorillas, maybe, but not with any certainty, like Nacholopithecus. And yeah, they just straight up don't have like pan fossils at all, basically. It's like one, I think.
Yeah.
So
also, first we have a super chat from Chris Reese for $5 who says, "Someone get Erica." He said orangutans. We actually said orangutans. She'll be pissed. Yeah, that is one of Erica's pet peeves, is when you call it an orangutan or an orangutan.
Orang-utang. Orang-utan, isn't it? It's orang-utan, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it's like a Bornean word that means like man of the forest. Yeah. Also, when is this thing from, like 1994? Because here's the thing, Pongidae hasn't been a valid family for quite a while. All of those, Pongo, Gorilla, Pan, and Homo, are all in Hominidae.
Yeah, that's just weird. Why would they use a weird paraphyletic grouping for this when Hominidae has been around for far, far longer than this video has been up?
Because they want to continue to reinforce that humans aren't in the same kind as all the apes. Even though, chimpanzees are more like humans than they are like gorillas, and gorillas are more like humans than they are like orangutans.
I'm pretty sure Hominidae's been around since like the 60s.
Oh, it has been, but it hasn't been applied to the entirety of the great apes until after I think midway through the 90s. Like when I was in high school, Pongidae was still a thing in textbooks.
I'm not a fan of that.
No, I'm not either. And I mean, neither is anyone else right now, which is why it's not a thing anymore. Which is why I asked, what is this, from 1992?
Maybe.
All right, here we go.
We've got that documented in the fossil record. We have ancient humans who are now extinct, like the Neanderthals, who have been reclassified as Homo sapiens. We'll get.
No, they have not.
No, we're going to take a big old drink for that. Yeah, the idea that Neanderthals just are Homo sapiens is not at all supported by any of the evidence, nor is it the consensus of anyone in the field. That's just not
It's
true.
completely dead as a hypothesis. It's dead.
There wasn't even full interfertility, it looks like, between Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis. For instance, in hybrids, it looks like the Neanderthal Y chromosome was never passed down. So it looks like it might be like a liger situation, where male ligers are sterile, and female ligers are interfertile with both parent species. So it looks like it might have been that Homo sapiens Neanderthal cross males may have been infertile, and females may have been fertile. So if you have only females being fertile, you're never going to pass down that the Y chromosomes are never going to cross over into the other lineage. So, yeah. All right, here we go.
Get to that. What we don't have in the fossil record is, and it's systematic.
Ooh.
It's obvious by its absence. We have lots and lots of extinct chimpanzee.
No, almost none. We're gonna take a drink.
No, we don't. We have one, but we have. I don't even think the one fossil has like actually a name. I think it just has like the specimen number because that's how little. It's like, I think it's like a partial tooth or a couple teeth or something like that. It's very, very small, and I don't think they ever even assigned it a name. Oh, yeah. No, just no.
Yeah, we took a drink for that.
Gorilla, orang, and
Nope. Don't have a lot of fossil gorillas either. Taking a drink for that.
Yeah, there are no. I don't think there are no fossils that fall within the genus gorilla. First of all, and there are some maybe stem gorillas.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, he is right that we do have fossil like pungins from Punginae. That's true.
Human fossils, but according to evolution, we did not come from the monkeys.
We didn't come from any of the extant monkeys. Yeah.
He tried. He tried at least.
He tried. He didn't get it.
There was an attempt.
Yeah. Like, you know what?
He keeps saying, what? It's like he kept saying, well, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? And like people explained it to him so many times, he's like, I get it. We didn't come from monkeys. It's like, well,
kind of.
That's not the whole answer.
No. Like, yeah, the common ancestor of, say, humans and chimpanzees was definitely a monkey, because humans are monkeys.
Yeah.
But, like, it wasn't an extant monkey. You can't find him anymore. All right, here we go.
They are not our grandparents. They are our cousins, our modern-day cousins, from a common grandfather, common great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and great-great-great-grandfather.
I mean, yeah, that's basically the right analogy. We'll take a drink for him being basically right about how that works.
And so they are our cousins. There was this monkey-looking thing, and some of them turned...
I mean, yeah, it was a monkey-looking thing by virtue of being a monkey. It's like calling a dog like a mammal-looking thing. Like, yeah, it is. That's true. Well, speaking of mammal-looking things, did you guys hear about the publication of a description of a Lystrosaurus mummy complete with skin impressions?
Nice.
I'm very excited about the Lystrosaurus skin impressions because, as far as I know, that makes it the only skin impressions that we have of a non-mammal synapsid. And so that can give us some information about like synapsid integument, because that's been a big mystery for a while. Is things like, where does hair appear in the mammal lineage? And we know that there was hair back in like the Permian because we have Permian coprolites with preserved hair. Something was furry back then, but we don't know what. And now we have a Dicynodon skin impression, and so if Dicynodons weren't hairy, we can say, okay, well, we know that at that point that's unlikely that hair had developed by the time of the Dicynodon split with like other therapsids. So it's very cool. I'm very excited for it. Lystrosaurus is cool. It's also very adorable if you play Ark Survival Evolved. So go play Ark Survival Evolved at some point and get yourself a pet Lystrosaurus. Here we go.
Turned into us, and some of them turned into chimpanzees. But on the way, they got very chimp-like looking, and we got a lot of fossils of those. They got
no, still don't.
Very human-like looking, and we got lots of fossils of those.
Yep, that's true. We do have a lot of fossils from pretty early on in human evolution all the way to modern humans.
And I'm not kidding you. I'm going to show you this. It's right here.
You're going to show us all of the chimp fossils that you have. Please do. Please unveil to the world all these chimp fossils you have amassed but apparently not told the scientific community.
Right? He's just got them stuffed in his closet.
Where evolution does its magic part of the story, that there's nothing to document that part of the chart ever happened.
The split between Pan and Homo happened. We have like Sahelanthropus, Ardipithecus, Auroran. And these like overlap in the time that molecular clocks say we split from, or we and Pan shared a common ancestor.
Yeah, and let's not forget all of the heavily favorable genetic information that says that, in fact, genus Pan and genus Homo are closer to each other than the members of genus Panthera among the big cats. Like, there's less diversity between chimpanzees, bonobos, and humans than there is between lions and tigers and leopards and jaguars. Those are all more distantly related to each other than humans and chimpanzees.
Yeah, back before genetic sequencing was a thing, because that really didn't kind of take off until like 70s into the really into the 80s. Before that, you had to use these sort of proxy methods for doing phylogenetics. They'd be like, using antibodies, basically. You like gather human antibodies and test them against like chimps and gorillas and other guys. And we did like DNA hybridization and other sorts of stuff like that. And the interesting thing was, humans, chimps, and gorillas are all so close to each other that researchers couldn't actually figure who was more closely related to who until DNA sequencing came out.
Yeah.
We are that similar to each other. It's like, if you look at a lot of older phylogenies, it's a polytomy between gorillas, chimps, and us, because we're just that close to each other in so many of our genes. Also, we have lots of incomplete lineage sorting going on, so it makes figuring out who is actually closer to who quite a bit difficult. So,
yeah. So yeah, that the idea that the fossils are all we have to go on is a little laughable, especially when you also have other creationists who like to say things like, "Well, we got to look at the genetics, sperm and eggs. That's what gets passed down. That's the real important thing." Like, okay, well, let's look at the genetics. Oh, it's really bad for you. Sorry. All right, here we go. Oh, hey, Paleologos popped in, and he says the first chimpanzee fossil was discovered in 2005, 2 incisors and a molar.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, exactly. And there was one other paper more recently that argues some tools are from an ancient chimp site. I don't remember the age on that one, but yeah, that's it.
I love that,
just
that
like
chimpanzee archaeology is a real thing.
Yeah, not
That's
a huge
really
field
cool.
yet, but,
No, but
that is really cool.
It's a real thing. Chimpanzees are in the Stone Age, guys.
I mean, the horses will like dig wells, and stuff like that. And so
Horses don't count, Jackson. Come on, they're parasitactyls. Sorry, I have no idea why I just decided to be super mean to parasitactyls. I actually really like parasitactyls. All right, here we go.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
We have all these other fossils, but we don't have. It's in all. It's the dinosaurs and all the major steps. Fish turning into land-walking creatures, dinosaurs turning into birds. The whole thing is messed up at just these junctures where it's needed. So that's
what do you mean? What does he mean by that? Like, what specific part? Because there are so many lineages of like dinosaurs that are close to birds. So what do you mean?
Actually, it's now a problem where we don't know what a bird is anymore. Like, what actually defines a bird? And the thing is, like, no one knows. But we also have lots of other transitionals between all sorts of things. And the thing is, like, look, I'm glad that young Earth creationism can accommodate just about anything by being like, well, God just decided to make a 4-legged snake for reasons. Shut up. And he just decided to make a fish with a neck. Because that's the thing he decided to do. Neckfish.
How else would they nod at each other if not with necks?
Well, that's the thing. Most fish generally don't have necks at all.
But now they do, and they can nod at each other. So there you go. Problem solved.
And so, like, great. But the thing is, evolution predicted these. In many cases, they were only found because the prediction was made that they should exist at a certain level of rock in a certain place. And then people went and dug for them specifically. Like, all of the hominins, they're not there because people just happen to find... No, okay. Look, maybe some of them are there because of accidental finds, right? But by and large, they're there because expeditions intending to find human ancestors went and found human ancestors. Vishanti is apparently still yodeling while the slideshow plays, even though she's not on the air with us. Sorry about that, Vishanti.
Sure. I mean, like, why did all of the like transitional whales get found in the 90s? The reason was the first one was found kind of by accident. But once the researchers figured out, oh, hey, they're all in like Pakistan and India, then the race was on, right? And they were just uncovering fossil after fossil after fossil after fossil. And so it's like, once you find the first one, you get an idea of where to look next.
Yeah.
Really, because in a broad sense, paleontologists sort of make predictions every time they go to the field. You have to have a justification for why you're going to a certain site.
Well, that's the thing. You have to get a grant, right? You're not just
exactly.
No one's going to give you a grant where you're just like, hey man, I'm just going to go to like Montana and just kind of poke around. Like no one's going to give you money for that, right? Like you're trying to ask like Ted Cruz and Dick Cheney for fossil money. They want to find dinosaurs. You have to give them a good reason to think that you're going to get dinosaurs. And I say those names because, as I've mentioned before, Republican politicians fund an odd amount of paleontology research, like directly
also probably
as private individuals.
And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, part of that is because also like oil exploration or something like that. But
yeah, but also they just actually will just give grant money to like pure research for like dinosaur stuff. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, look, you know what? Republicans can like dinosaurs too. That's fine. I'm perfectly okay with Dick Cheney spending his money on finding new dinosaurs as opposed to shooting his hunting buddies.
Or weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, that too. Although, fortunately, he's not in charge of that anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard him speak in person once on an aircraft carrier. It was miserable.
That is something.
Yeah. And one of my buddies was asked by like the news reporter, like, hey, what does it mean for the vice president to come and speak to you guys on the aircraft carrier? He's like, it meant I had to take some of my little free time to stand around in a very, very hot hangar bay. Thanks for asking. He got in some trouble for that one.
That's sad because that is a based answer.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All right, here we go.
Look at, and I'll look at the newest one. Just to give you a little documentation, modern quotes, 2010, the last common ancestor of...
Okay, we're still scrolling up because I was like, it says 2012, but okay. But I guess we're getting a few more. So I think this was probably this was made in 2012. So we're looking like a 10-year-old, maybe 9 or 8-year-old video.
Chimpanzees and humans, the grandfather, remains a holy grail in science.
Yeah, that's true. So there's a few things here.
But I hate that language, though.
Oh, yeah. So there's a few things, right? One is, because the fossil record for chimpanzees is so scarce, anything we find that's near the base of that split, it's going to be hard to say if it's on the chimpanzee side or the human side, right? But also, as a rule, you don't ever actually try to make the positive claim that this particular taxon is the literal common ancestor, because when it comes to fossil taxa, you really don't have a way to test that in particular. You can say that this is morphologically consistent with what we expect for the common ancestor, and that it was that morphology was predicted based on the hypothesis of common ancestry between these two groups. But yeah, you can't really go, generally speaking, you can't point to a particular fossil taxon and say, yes, this, you can't say like, oh yes, Allosaurus is the common ancestor of all future Allosauroids. You just can't. Like, how would you know if that's actually literally what's happening, or if it's some other group that you just haven't found yet? There's no way in particular to say for sure about that. But also, yeah, look, without a much better fossil record for pannins, it's going to be hard to say whether or not any fossil represents a good representative of the morphology of the common ancestor. But you know what that doesn't negate? It doesn't negate all of the increasingly basal hominin fossils, like we talked about with the Ardipithecus and Sahelanthropus, nor does it negate all the genetic evidence that humans are definitely within the same family as, the orangutans, the gorillas, and the chimps, and that we're significantly closer to chimps than orangutans, and that chimps are significantly closer to humans than they are to orangutans. None of that goes away because you don't have a great fossil record for chimpanzees and bonobos.
Yeah, baby.
All right, here we go.
2010, haven't found the most recent common ancestor, MRCA. We thought we had just about nailed human evolution. Now everything's up for grabs again. New scientists.
Again, hate that.
I hate those
Eddie
headlines.
Yong is a science popular science writer. He's written like books and all sorts of stuff. But
Look,
we talked about this before. Science is like, to use Dapper's analogy, science is like a puzzle. And when you make a new discovery, you have to fit it with the things we already know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't scramble the puzzle and be like, oh, time to go back to the drawing board. That just simply does not happen.
Yeah.
And the fact that popular science writers pretend as though that's what happens does a huge disservice to science education for the laity.
Oh yeah. Also, I'm going to take a drink for one of like the only 3 paleontology headlines that exist. We're going to go talk about that real quick. So there are like basically 3 different paleontology headlines. One is everything we know about human evolution has been overturned. One of them. Another one is new dinosaur discovered. It's even more X than Tyrannosaurus Rex. Because everything has to be compared to Tyrannosaurus Rex if it's a dinosaur, especially if it's a theropod. And then the last one is new fossil completely upends everything we thought we knew about evolution, just like generally. And technically, usually this is even more X than Tyrannosaurus Rex is technically true. But the other 2 are almost never true, and the fact that that last one about T-Rex is technically usually true is usually completely meaningless, because you can find anything, and it's more something than T-Rex.
It's more of an herbivore than T-Rex was. Well,
I guess that's true. This one has a proportionally longer tibia than T-Rex. Oh, okay. Great.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So yeah, like, I just hate... And the thing is, like, that overturns everything we know isn't just a paleontology thing. That's just a science thing, right? Like, you'll say, oh, newest findings from the James Webb Telescope completely throw the Big Bang into question. It's like, no, it just made us question some aspects of early galaxy formation. Yeah. But the thing is, James Webb raises questions about early galaxy formation isn't as cool a headline as James Webb overthrows the Big Bang. Even though it's much more accurate headline.
For this one, because these are all with reference to Homo naledi, right? Was what he said. I think so. And Homo naledi was a surprise, to be sure, but it's another... I mean, not to demean the actual fossil, because it's a cool fossil, or series of fossils, whatever.
Yeah, but it didn't overturn anything.
It didn't overturn anything, it's just another branch on the hominin tree.
Yeah,
right? Like it's not significantly older than like Homo habilis, for instance, but it's more similar morphologically to Homo. Like it's not. There are questions about its phylogenetic placement for a while, but
it's always going to happen whenever you have a new taxon.
Yeah, like okay, cool.
Oh no, new taxon has questionable place in the taxonomic tree. Yeah, that's how it works. You got to do studies.
It was recently Saccharitis, which was that little tiny blobby thing from like the early Cambrian, shifted from like early Deuterostome to early Ecdysozoan, which is not a very long jump. So
yeah, no, it's not a very long jump at all.
So it's like, yeah, something very primitive got moved from primitive on one branch to primitive on the next closest branch. Cool.
Which, by the way, in and of itself, the fact that when we get to the very, very base of various taxa, no matter how broad the taxa are, it becomes hard to tell the difference, is also itself a prediction of evolution, right? The first protostomes and the first deuterostomes should look very similar to each other because they're closely related. They don't have a long divergence time.
Just little wormy dudes.
Yeah. Oh, hey, look. Just on time, a daily thunderstorm. Hopefully I don't lose internet. Or just electricity broadly.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Just 2011. Bernard Woods, very famous evolutionist out at Harvard. The origin of our genus, Homo sapiens, is genus and species. Genus, Homo, species, sapiens.
Hey, he got that right. We'll take a drink. Good job.
Really drew that one out.
Yeah, but hey, look, he knows the basics of what a binomial is.
The origin of the Homo genus remains frustratingly unclear, 2011.
Yeah, because we have a lot of Australopithecines that are in various ways like the most basal hominins. Sorry, Homo, members of Homo. Yeah, hominins. Except the whole, whatever. You guys know what I mean. Homo. Members of Homo. And we have a lot of basal members of Homo that are a lot like, the latest members of Australopithecus. And it's not clear which groups of Australopithecus are most closely related to genus Homo, and which members of genus Homo gave rise to which exact later members. But that's the thing that we would expect. If you're looking at one or two adaptive radiations of hominins in the fossil record, I mean, that's literally what's happening, right? So, of course, it's frustrating. But you know what isn't unclear to anyone in paleoanthropology? That genus Homo is a descendant of genus Australopithecus. That is not a thing that's currently under debate. Exactly where the switch happens and which species are involved is indeed contentious. But it's sort of like someone arguing about, like, hey, we're trying to take a look at, like, all the dog breeds, and we're having a fight as to whether or not two dog breeds had a common ancestor in, like, the dogs of, like, Buckingham Palace, or, like, the dogs of, like the halls of power in the Holy Roman Empire. Like, okay, great, but does anyone disagree that dogs came from wolves? No. Okay, then great. You're having a little bit of a fight about some of the tips, exactly where they link up. But, like, the overall picture is not unclear, and it's dishonest to present these quotations talking about where there are open questions in paleoanthropology as if the whole field has no firm conclusions. Because the thing is, all areas of active research are areas of active research because they have open questions. Having an open question doesn't invalidate a field of science.
You know, I'm willing to bet, because only one of these is from an actual paper, I'm willing to bet that, like, the origin of our own genus remains frustratingly unclear. However, recent discoveries have made this picture more clear.
You know what? I'll bet that's from the abstract. I'll bet that's from the beginning of the abstract. We can find out. Hold on.
Yeah, okay, Bernard Wood, PNAS. The origin of our own genus remains frustratingly unclear.
See what pops up. Yeah, this is Bernard Wood's 2011 PNAS. Let's take a look at the Wait, is this even a full paper? Looks weird, but yeah, this is the first sentence of the abstract.
Whoa, who could have guessed it? Wait, we made a prediction that was true. That's a drink.
Yeah, we're taking a drink. We're taking 2 drinks for also the just incredible dishonesty of quoting the first sentence of an abstract as if it's the conclusion. So, for those of you who might not know, here's how you write a scientific paper, basically, right? The first thing you do is you start with an abstract. The first part of the abstract is explaining what the problem is that you think your paper is solving, or at least helping to solve, right? So you state, here's a question or a problem or whatever. We need to fix it. We need to find out the answer. Then in the next part of your abstract, you talk about how you solve that question, how you solve the puzzle, how you fix the problem. So whenever someone quotes the first bit of an abstract, what they're glossing over is that the entire point of the rest of the paper is to explain why that first sentence isn't a problem. It's an extremely dishonest thing to do. So, Dr. Jackson, if you ever decide to watch this, feel free to contact me and explain why it is you think it's okay to quote the first sentence of an abstract of a paper as if it's just the conclusion of the paper. Please, I would love to hear why you did that. I'm sure you have an absolutely wonderful excuse, and it's not just either that you just grabbed this citation from another creationist, didn't bother to check on it yourself, or that you're massively dishonest. I'm sure neither of those are the explanation.
From the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Scientific American, in an article called First of Our Kind, 2012. But with so little evidence to go on, the origin of our genus has remained as mysterious as ever. Okay, to people who actually go out digging up the fossils.
Who's Kate Long? Is she an actual researcher?
I think she's also a science writer.
So not a paleoanthropologist, huh?
Don't think so. Let's see. She wrote a book, Lucy's Legacy. Yeah, she's a senior editor at Scientific American.
Okay, so yeah. We had one actual paleoanthropologist, which makes sense because he's the only person who was listed as a paleoanthropologist. And the quote from him was the first sentence of an abstract. Wonderful. Top-notch scholarship right there.
Actually go out trying to formulate a model and a story and a history documented by scientific evidence, they're the ones that will be the first to admit, you know what, we haven't got this nailed down.
Yeah, because it's an open area of research, and scientists aren't liars. Of course they'll admit that they don't have everything nailed down. That's why they're writing papers in the field. But what you won't get them to quote-unquote admit is they don't know anything, or that there's not good evidence of human evolution from non-human primates. Because there is. This is a thing that happens a lot with creationists and is very frustrating. They just look for where there's an open question and then think that by virtue of that existing, it invalidates the whole field. I'm sorry, but the fact that we currently are still doing physics research doesn't mean that you can't use Newton's laws to build bridge. But that's exactly what he's doing. He's saying, because there are currently questions in paleoanthropology for which we do not have a firm answer, then humans didn't evolve from non-human primates. But that's not how that works. And DM Wing, yeah, some scientists are liars, but those are the kinds of scientists who tend to get called out and then ostracized from the scientific community. Like if you pretend that you can conduct cold fusion, even though you can't.
And I respect and admire that. You know what? We have a problem here, and we're working on it. Every one of these people completely believes in the evolution theory, and they're certainly welcome to do that. They're saying,
"Oh, thank you.
We need to find these missing links. It is a problem." They're admitting they have a problem. They're not, weakening in their stand that evolution is true, and I got to respect sticking to their guns like that. But they're also saying, "Look, guys, fellow evolutionists, we got a problem here." In the year 2011, the Australopithecus sediba fossil was discovered by Lee Berger in Africa. And I want you to notice the features on this mock-up.
Reconstruction.
Yeah, which is not being used as evidence. It's being used as a visual aid for education.
Oh, Christ. So in the series that I'm doing on my channel right now, which you're always invited to, of course.
Thank you.
I'm reading a book from 1967 titled it's a Creationist book. Did man get here by evolution or by creation? And they complained back then about different reconstructions of Homo erectus. The arguments have not changed even slightly.
I'm shocked.
They still don't care about... They didn't care about the evidence back then. They don't care about it now. It is... Oh no, they made Lucy look kind of human-y. Oh.
Yeah, Dean Wing says, in before whites of the eyes. Yeah, we're definitely going to get a comments about the whites of the eye.
Which freaking other apes have whites in their eyes. It's just your vitreous mass. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
All right, here we go.
Ears, which you can't tell from the skull. The hairline, which you can't tell from the skull.
That hairline is completely ordinary for just ape.
Right,
Nothing
is.
I'm just taking a drink for like, oh my goodness, the hairline.
It goes all the way around the face.
And hey, drink for God's sake. Yeah, this is look, he's right that you can't tell the hairline from the fossil, but where would you like it to have been there, Dr. Jackson? Because I can't imagine where else it should be, honestly. Here we go.
The skin texture and tone.
You mean the skin texture and tone that just kind of looks like young chimpanzee?
Yeah, seriously.
Lips, even
the lips that look like every other ape's lips. I'm just gonna take another drink for just like, my goodness, can you believe they gave this fossil skin? Yes. And as a matter of fact, I can believe that they put skin on this reconstruction.
I like to believe that Charles Jackson lives in a world where when he sees, like, the fossil of some bilaterian, he just, like, can't bring himself to believe that there are two halves of this bilaterian.
Right.
He's like, you found one arm? How dare you give it a second one?
Look, there are things that you can complain about with fossil reconstructions and say, "Oh, this is too skeptical or speculative or whatever." But like, dude, it's got lips is not one of those things.
Yeah, we talked about the like gular sacks on the Dreadnoughtus from
Completely speculative.
It's like it, and the thing about that is, we don't know that it had that. We also don't know it didn't have that. They were like, because there is this uncertainty, we're gonna play into that. Which, like, okay,
yeah,
that's fine. But this is so normal and boring for a reconstruction. Like, what the heck, man?
It's got lips, man.
It has.
You don't know it has.
It has lips right under its nose. Actually, all fossil apes, they don't have noses. They just have a giant, like, nasal hole in the middle of their face.
Mm-hmm. Well, how dare you assume that there was any external structure? I mean, next,
right?
Hopefully next he tells us, look, they gave it ears.
You're telling me they
those
found
aren't on the
all
fossil
those
either.
teeth in its mouth?
Probably not. No, it probably was missing some of those teeth. Yeah. All right, let's see what else. It's completely on it, like completely ordinary and not at all speculative that Dr. Charles Jackson is going to complain about.
Parts of the nose.
Oh my God, he did it! He said the nose!
We're taking a drink. He's just literally describing what exists here in this picture.
Did you find eyes on that fossil?
You know it had eyes. Our orbits don't mean eyes, boys. Oh my goodness.
Certainly the body hair. You can't tell any of that from... Now you can tell the brow ridges.
Oh, thanks.
Depending on how much of the skull you find, you can tell the shape of the skull itself and the teeth. You can tell some of the musculature from the little...
You mean like the lips? Which are just a bunch of muscles with skin over them? Okay.
Pits in the bones where the muscles attach by tendons. Now, here's another thing. Every time they make one of these little mock-ups, they always draw the sclera, or the whites of the eyes.
Here it is.
Monkey's eyelid.
Take a drink, everybody. Other monkeys don't have sclerae.
With... Oh, look at all these pictures of primates with sclera.
Look, you can just type into Google, like, ape eye white, and you will get pictures of chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans, all of whom have white parts of the eye.
Oh, there are so many pictures of it. All I had to do was type in a couple of words.
Yep.
Wow.
Are different from ours. You cannot see the whites of their eyes.
Wrong. Taking a drink.
Even animals like a cow or a horse.
Actually, domesticated animals tend to have more eye white than their wild counterparts, especially dogs, and that's in part for better communication with humans. Like, that's a thing that is like an observed phenomenon in domesticated animals, is the evolution of more prominent eye whites.
Just looked up dog with sclera. It's like so many pictures.
Oh, apparently Nathaniel Gray says that capuchin monkeys have white sclerae as well.
It is just rows and rows and rows of pictures for dogs with white sclera.
Yeah, whites of the eyes is actually a pretty ordinary just thing for lots of mammals.
If you're messing with the horse back there, maybe if they turn their head and roll their eye really far, you'll see the whites of their eyes. That's when you know they're really worried about something.
That's actually true in both dogs and horses. If you can see prominent amounts of the sclera, that usually means that they're not happy about something because they're really straining their eyes to look at something, or their eyes are really, really wide. So if you see a dog that looks very surprised, it's probably not very happy. And if you're doing something to that dog that's making it have that facial expression, maybe knock it off. Or risk getting bit.
But human eyes look like this. You cannot tell the eyelids. They always make these eyes look human and not monkey. They do everything.
Fun fact, human eyes look exactly like monkey eyes because they are monkey eyes.
Whoa, got him.
Everything they can to make it look as human as possible. This is what they found, okay? Now, also notice that Lee Berger's head is a huge bit bigger than this. You didn't realize that was that little, did you?
I did.
Hold on. Does Dr. Jackson know that like babies exist? Does he know babies exist?
I don't know. But also, I don't know why he would expect Australopithecus sediba to be similar in stature to Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens are very large for animals. Like, weirdly large.
They're quite tall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, if you take all mammals, like, Homo sapiens are some of the biggest mammals that exist. Now, granted, you get outliers like the, mysticetes, the baleen whales. But, like, if you line up all mammals by, like, maximum adult body size, humans would be way at the end. Not the very end, but they'd be way off on the tall side.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, most human ancestors aren't as extremely big as modern humans are. Because humans are weirdly big. Even for apes. Which is itself a group of fairly large mammals.
Yeah.
That's the size of the head. There's the eye sockets. This is what they actually found.
Well, also apparently that hand, but like, what's the point that's being made here? Human ancestors were small, therefore...
Reconstruction has to be exactly to scale, you see.
But how do
we
you...
have to have...
I don't know that it wasn't. It was a picture of a statue. I don't know how big that original statue is.
If I can't tell merely by looking at it, the size of the reconstruction
they need
is
a scale
therefore
bar.
wrong.
If there isn't a scale bar with every picture of a reconstruction, it is wrong.
I mean, that's so boldly like scientific stance to take on pictures. It has to have a scale bar.
I mean, to be a figure in an actual like paper where you're reporting on like fossils and you're using a picture of the fossil to do it, then yes. But
like
this is from a pop sci outlet with a picture of an artistic reconstruction made for public consumption.
Just like Sheldon Cooper getting mad at a picture. That's what this is.
Yeah, basically.
Very weird.
And this is what they drew.
No, it's what they sculpted. That's clearly not a drawing. That's a picture of a sculpture. But sure, whatever.
Now, if I believed in evolution, I'd use evolution-guided imaginations to make up the rest of the data too.
So,
oh my goodness.
Okay, so you're saying you don't believe it had ears and a hairline and skin and a nose?
There's a deeper problem here. He said to make up the rest of the data, but that's not what's happening. Yeah. That reconstruction isn't being used as data. The fossils are. If you read the actual description of Australopithecus sediba, it's not going to reference the reconstruction that an artist made as evidence for the conclusions. Instead, the conclusions are what the artist referenced. So I'm going to take a drink for Dr. Charles Jackson getting the causality here completely backwards. No one is using that reconstruction for data about Australopithecus sediba. That's completely the opposite of what's happening. And I have a hard time believing that he doesn't know that. So, look, like I said earlier, Dr. Charles Jackson, feel free to contact me and let me know whether it is that you're completely incompetent or a liar. Feel free, anytime. I'm open to have that discussion with you where you let me know which one you think you are.
But the reason I'm focusing in on Lee Berger, a lot of evolutionists, and I will show this to you, many leaders in the evolutionist community think this guy is a little out there because he kind of goes too fast and goes beyond the data like this picture does. But
Lee Berger, hold on, they think Lee Berger, a prominent paleoanthropologist, is like a quack because somebody else at National Geographic made a sculpture based on a fossil he found. That's the chain of logic.
I think it might be the chain of logic, yeah. Or it might just be that he wasn't clear what he was saying.
National Geographic loves him, and so he got this article in National Geographic for Australopithecus sediba, which was supposed to be the missing link between the Australopithecines, Australopithecus africanus, and Homo habilis.
Australopithecus africanus is I'm pretty sure it's like closer to the Paranthropines than it is to our lineage, but also I don't think it's considered like a direct ancestor of Homo anyways, nor is Homo habilis, so
I don't think so. But yeah, I'm really not sure what point he's trying to make here. Let's find out.
or handyman. So, does this mean Australopithecus sediba was the missing link? Well, scientists don't like that term, which Lee Berger...
That's correct.
That they shouldn't. They don't.
There you go. Good job.
It implies, on the one hand, that generally speaking, transitional forms are not well attested, even though they very much are. And also, it implies the idea that this is the thing that you can slot directly into a linear lineage, because the idea behind the missing link is you have a chain, but some of the links in a chain are missing, and chains are generally linear. But evolution isn't a linear process; it's a branching process. And only by ignoring side branches can you pretend that there's a chain. So, for numerous reasons, it's a bad term to use. And yeah, the non-binary B points out that Lee Berger really does want A. sediba to be a direct human ancestor, but virtually no one else agrees with him. And you know what? Yeah, scientists have their pet hypotheses, and often their pet hypotheses are wrong. And I don't think that makes him a quack. It makes him probably wrong about this thing, though.
Calls biologically unsound. Okay, just because he's saying missing link is biologically unsound,
and basically all professionals in the field agree with him,
doesn't mean they're not missing. They just don't like that terminology.
But I'm going to take a drink. That's the problem. Is that generally they're not missing. We have plenty of transitional forms, which is the thing that you should be calling missing links. Dia Wing also says, oh hey, I found another make dapper drink button, and he sends the Godzilla, a Mothra, and a Ghidorah emoji, and yes you did. Thank you very much, I will take a drink. Alright. Here we go.
And here are the, look at this, game changer, evolution African bones. Closest human ancestor may rewrite the steps of evolution. They just don't like that terminology.
From yahoo.com. Yeah, once again, it's one of the only few paleontology headlines that exist, which is, oh no, everything we thought we knew about human evolution is wrong. Except, no, it's not. That's not what happened. That was never a likely outcome.
And here are the, look at this, game changer, evolution African bones. Closest human ancestor may rewrite the steps of evolution.
Imagine thinking that citing yahoo.com was a good idea. My goodness.
Berger's interested in notoriety for recrafting the evolutionary story of how humans...
Oh, all right, so Sal Cordova is in the chat, and he just pointed out, but there's Gish's law, finding a transitional in a gap makes two gaps. Yeah,
he's right. Exactly. There you go.
It's the exact Dr. Banjo argument. Oh,
I have
man.
you now.
Which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen A Clockwork Origin, an episode of Futurama, please go see it. It is wonderful. And it actually is surprisingly sympathetic to theistic accounts of the universe, while also pointing out that anti-evolutionism is usually based on some of the worst argumentation imaginable. There you go. Oh, yeah. And Faye DeGray, who's been a member for 3 months at the tetrapod level, says, you mean this drink button? And sends a Godzilla and a Mothra emoji. Yes, that exact drink button. Thank you very much, Faye DeGray. We'll take a drink. All right. Here we go.
Came from monkey-like creatures. The researchers do caution that although they suggest Australopithecus sediba was ancestral to the human lineage, all these apparent resemblances between it and us could just be coincidences.
That's not how I would phrase it.
They could just be coincidences. I guess that's it's attempting at convergent evolution, but that is a horrible way to describe it.
Yeah, that's... The fact that sentence made it into this doesn't do anything to increase my confidence that Yahoo News is a good source for science.
And at least I'm glad that they were admitting that in yahoo.com.
Trusted, verified source, yahoo.com.
I honestly didn't think he was going to call attention to the fact that it was yahoo.com. Oh, there's Olivia Williams, who's been a member for 5 months at Tetrapod level, who says, I have it too, with the Ghidorah emoji. Then Nathaniel Gray chimes in for $2 and says, "Me too. I want to play with a Mothra and Ghidorah emoji, so I'll take a drink for those." My good, I'm gonna run out of this drink pretty soon, and I'm supposed to also stream a movie to my members and patrons Discord server, because in case you guys don't know, most Tuesdays after I finish the stream, we watch some TV or a movie over on my Discord server. So if you want access to that, go ahead and head over to the Patreon linked in the description, or join the channel and link your Discord account to your Patreon or your YouTube account. You will automatically be given access to that Discord server as well as early access, and you can come and hang out. And Vishanti says, "I must break you for $2, but she sends a Kent Hovind emoji, which is not one of the ones that's a drink trigger. So, a valiant effort. I'll say that. It was a valiant effort. All right, here we go.
I'm trying to show you things that go on in the evolutionist community. The reason I'm mentioning a 2011 find is it was Lee Berger who brought forth to the world the Homo naledi fossil last year. Australopithecus sediba, Texas A&M says it's a...
Vishanti says, "It was a slip. I meant to put the emoji next to it." Well, $2 more. I don't know what to tell you. You didn't send the right emoji, so we can't drink for it.
Possible ancestor for the Homo genus, us. But Ian Tattersall, who is like the evolutionist's greatest...
paleoanthropologist.
Yep. I mean, at least we're getting actual paleoanthropologists. By the way, guys, this ridiculous, crazy nonsense with the camera is in the original video. I don't know.
World expert on Neanderthal fossils. The guy, it's his whole life's work.
That's true. You know what? We'll take a drink. That's true. It is, in fact, Ian Tattersall's life work to do paleoanthropology, as a paleoanthropologist, tends to do.
At the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, he said, "Sediba's a distinct species, probably closely related to Australopithecus africanus, the one in the story after Lucy. But I wouldn't classify it as the root of the Homo genus."
Which, by the way, is still basically the consensus today.
So there's debate about it when a new fossil comes up and they make these mock-ups and everything. And
I wonder if it's because it's so similar to both Homo and other species of Australopithecus that there is some question about its exact phylogenetic placement.
Yeah, basically he's saying Australopithecus sediba is too transitional, therefore it doesn't count. That's the argument that we're getting right now.
Which is a regular creationist argument.
Yeah, actually, it's not an uncommon argument, and it's really weird because, yeah, it is pretty transitional, huh? I don't see why that's a problem. Oh my goodness, this is. Look, if there weren't alcohol, I'm having fun right now. But if I hadn't, I don't know how you're doing it, Jackson, because you're not drinking alcohol. Drinking what, an Arnold Palmer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you can do that.
Look, I also think about creationism a lot less in the week than you do.
That's true.
The only time I think about creationism is when I'm watching videos by you guys, you or Erica or Dan, all of which are great channels. I loved your video on Stephen Meyer recently, but daily basis, I just don't. When I'm at the aquarium at work or I'm at the university, I don't think about it.
That's fair. Whereas I do think about it almost every day.
Which is also why it's so funny to me that my very existence makes some creationists angry. That's very funny to me.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
They all discuss it. But Berger is the guy who came up with the newest one, Homo naledi, and that's why I'm mentioning him. All
right, guys. There was nothing in particular that he said there that was very important, but we're going to start wrapping up because we've been going for almost the 2 hours that I'm expecting us to go. So, yeah. Let's see. Thank you guys for coming. This has been a lot of fun. Especially thank all of you who are my patrons, my channel members, and those of you who super chatted. You guys and your support is the reason that I can keep doing this and keep putting out a pretty consistent 3 videos a week. I think in the last 2 years, I think I've failed to put 3 videos out like fewer than 5 times, I think. And we recently passed my 500th video, which was really cool. And it really is down to you guys. So your support is the reason that I can keep doing that so regularly.
Nice.
Yeah, because, I mean, look, I spent, before I even got here today to do this show, I had already put in about 10 hours of work on a new video. Today. And that wouldn't be possible if you guys weren't supporting. Because, quite frankly, I would have to do something else to bring in some money during those 10 hours if it weren't for you guys. So I really appreciate it. If you aren't currently supporting and you want to, there are several options. There is Patreon, which is you can go annual or monthly. Annual gives you a 12% discount. You get access to like 2.5, maybe 3 months worth of videos. You get access to the Discord server that's just for supporters, where I also do things like, sometimes I'll stream games or movies and stuff, and you guys can make suggestions, ask questions, and I'm very frequently in there. There's also further perks. There's the channel memberships, which basically gives you the same things. It's just that you also get access to the emojis. There's also a merch store where you can buy things emblazoned with my dapperness. You can buy t-shirts, mugs, stickers, blankets, towels, baby onesies, I don't know, lots of things. So, yeah. And if none of those are right for you or you just can't afford it, please hit like, subscribe if you haven't, share the video. And I just want to say we have a $10 super chat from DM Wing, who sent some money emojis and a dapper emoji, and I really appreciate it. Jackson, do you have anything that you want to announce before I do some channel news and then we get out of here?
Kalugo's Tale is next, and we're continuing with our book, Did Man Get Here by Evolution or by Creation, on Thursday.
And should we be expecting the Kalugo's Tale?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So subscribe to Jackson Wheat. His channel is Jackson Wheat. It's really easy to find. It's wheat like the grain. Let me take a look at a calendar. So Thursday. Well, first, tomorrow, I think we're doing the Power Rangers tabletop role-playing game over on Top Hats Off, my other channel. I have not heard back from all my players, and I know that Maddie is not going to be with us because Maddie is doing, like, having baby stuff. So I'm not positive that we're going to play because we might only have 2 people who can make it, and that's not really enough for me to bother. But we might, I don't know, up in the air. However, Thursday, the 25th, episode 3 of my 4-part series on Stephen Meyer is going to be coming out. This is the one where Stephen Meyer shows that basically high school math is beyond him. Or the other option is he's just lying about how math works. We'll find.
I love that series. It's great.
It is. Thank you. I had a lot of fun making it. I also had a lot of frustration making it.
I imagine.
Making these video series about these creationists, on the one hand, it's hilarious how bad they often are at very basic things like, oh, this is just high school algebra there, Stevie boy. Maybe you could do this a little bit better. No? Okay, fine. We're going to go with no. So in that series, I actually end up doing math the dumb way that he does it, as well as also the right way, and showing that even if you do it the dumb way that he does it, where everything is working against evolution, it's still not a problem. So that's going to be Thursday, the 25th. The 27th, I don't know. I'm hoping to do another Dapper Reacts video. If I, for some reason, can't do that, or just don't, it'll probably be the next episode in the History of Life, which I'm mirroring from Jackson Wheat. Thank you very much, Jackson Wheat.
Ooh, no, thank you, because you also we did it together.
Yeah, we
did. Even led us in the Mesozoic.
That's true. I did lead us through most of the Mesozoic. I think you still took over for the Mesozoic plants because you're way better at the plants than I am. Okay, so then on the 30th, we're going to be doing Kent with Bent 90. It's still crazy to me that we're at 90 episodes of me and Beethoven just talking about Beethoven, and that we're not even close to done with his content.
That makes sense.
The man was nothing if not prolific. Then on the Thursday the 1st, there should be the final episode of the Stephen Meyer series. So we will close up with Stephen Meyer. But in the next few months, there is going to be a supercut of all of them. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. That's how long the series is after I take out like the intros and outros. So it's quite a series. It was a big project. And it's actually doing really well, so I appreciate that. But guys, with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. Do stick around for the credits, especially if you're in the credits. And if you think you're in the credits, you probably know who you are. So I hope to see all of you on Thursday for Stephen Meyer Part 3. Stephen Meyer Can't Do High School Math. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Work in Progress, Beethoven, Cynically Skeptic, Denny5252, Ian Chen, John Ackerman, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, McSpooks, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Veed, and Patrick Dennis. As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters, as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if an annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.